Hey guys, this is Ed and welcome to The Outer Dark. As many people who watch this channel know and follow the events over the last few weeks or months are aware, there seems to be a systematic attempt to draw Russia into some kind of conflict with the United States and indeed the West. Well, stay tuned as The Outer Dark brings you 10 ways the elites are pushing for war with Russia. Number 10. First, some context. The idea that there is a push for a conflict with Russia is not a conspiracy theory. It is also not something that is a fantasy. It is a real event that could happen and could happen very soon. Since now tensions between Russia and the United States are in fact at a critical tipping point. But how did this all start and why is there such a massive push? Well, Number 9. Researchers stated that this has directly happened after Hillary Clinton's loss in the 2016 election. At this point, the current establishment and architects of power were thrown into turmoil. This was given, in fact, more fuel to the fire by the leaks before the election by WikiLeaks, which exposed mass corruption within inside the current establishment. And in fact, as a number of researchers have stated, including CIA officer Robert Steele, who stated this in a former interview with The Outer Dark, that there is in fact evidence of treason. In fact, other researchers have gone on to speculate that the treason might be so widespread and worldwide that it could in fact collapse the current global power structure, literally take down the whole entire elite establishment. So in summary, the stakes are incredibly high. It's a winner-takes-all game, and at this point, with Donald Trump taking his position of power, it looks like that the elites are backed into a corner. They will literally seem to do anything in order to hold on to their grasp of power, including provoking a direct conflict with Russia. So how are they going about this, and what are they actually doing to try to provoke Russia? Well, number 8. On December the 20th, you had the assassination on the global stage of a major Russian ambassador of Turkey at an art gallery that looked very much like nothing less or more than a kill room. I say this because under inspection there seems to be an ominous message to Russia if you look closer. For instance, the fact that the walls or the photographs of the exhibition seem to be filled with stock photos. It's not only the photos that you see on the walls here, but the actual photo behind the Russian ambassador himself. If you take the photograph on the right of the cannon, this is in fact a famous cannon from Russia. It's called the Tsar cannon. In fact, it's a Russian monument. It's been actually photographed from every single angle. If you look closely, you can see that these trees at the back of the cannon, they didn't exist unless this photo was taken 10 years ago. I think, at least in my opinion, that this is a message to Russia to show that in fact some kind of honeypot or kill room has been organized for the assassination of the actual Russian ambassador. It just has all the hallmarks of a hidden message that's meant to be delivered, because the actual room doesn't make sense, the wall hangings don't make sense, the photographs don't hang right on the walls. If you note the shadows, everything about it just doesn't make sense, unless of course you want to display a narrative to the inner power structure of Russia that you set up this room, that you designed it, and that you killed this ambassador. An ominous message being delivered that says, if you look closer, you know who is involved, and you know that we did this. Shortly after this event, almost at the same time, another high-profile Russian diplomat was found dead. This at the time was just not covered by the mainstream media. In fact, they seem to stay away from the story, and it seems to connect to the death prior. Number 6. Obama starts to spearhead the idea that Russia hacked the elections, and he is going to get payback. Even after, before the elections, he stated that hacking the elections was in fact impossible, as you can see here.
I don't even really know where to start on answering this question. Of course the elections will not be rigged. What does that mean? The federal government doesn't run the election process. States and cities and communities all across the country, they're the ones who set up the voting systems and the voting booths, and if Mr. Trump is suggesting that there is a conspiracy theory that is being propagated across the country including in places like Texas, where typically it's not Democrats who are in charge of voting booths. That's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense, and I don't think anybody would take that seriously.
His intelligence agencies also started to gather around him to spin the same mono-narrative, even though no evidence has yet been provided. Number 5. Obama expels next 30-plus high-ranking officials, diplomats, and Russians and their families from the United States. They also shut down a number of Russian official offices and buildings used by Russian officials and expelled the personnel. Something like this has never happened before in history. Number 4. Obama puts massive sanctions on Russia. This is the next move that seems to push Russia into some kind of corner. These also sanctions came shortly after the assassination of the Turkey ambassador, at a time when relationships between the United States and Russia were at an all-time low. Number 3. Next, the mainstream media gathered like never before to spread the idea that Russia hacked the elections. They hacked the United States power grid, as well as a whole number of other villainous activities, according to the mainstream media. Number 2. A high-ranking Russian diplomat dies in Athens on January the 20th. Many people state that given that this happened so quickly, after the expulsion of all other diplomats and high-profile ranking officials within the United States, that again these are all linked together. Number 1. But although this is players positioning themselves against Russia, with assassinations, with everything else you can imagine, sanctions included, as well as painting Russia as some kind of supervillain, along this time you also have a massive build-up of tanks along the Russian border by NATO itself, and never has there been such a large build-up of military equipment and tanks since the Cold War itself. Well, at this point you have to sit back and look at the wider picture. If they're pushing for a war with Russia, what would war with Russia really look like? Well, that is something those around the world at high positions of power who seem to be striving for war of Russia don't seem to understand. That is the X factor in this game. Since Russia is not only a superpower, it has a huge arsenal of nuclear weapons and literally knows how to use them in every single capacity. So you do not have to be a grandmaster of wargaming to understand that when Russia is backed into a corner, war with it will look something like this.
All the bombs dropped in all the cities of World War II amounted to some 2 million tons of TNT, 2 megatons. Coventry and Rotterdam, Dresden and Tokyo, all the death that rained from the skies between 1939 and 1945. 100,000 blockbusters, 2 megatons. Today, 2 megatons is the equivalent of a single thermonuclear bomb, one bomb, with the destructive force of the Second World War. But there are tens of thousands of nuclear weapons. The missile and bomber forces of the Soviet Union and the United States have warheads aimed at over 15,000 designated targets. No place on the planet is safe. The energy contained in these weapons, genies of death patiently awaiting the rubbing of the lamps, totals far more than 10,000 megatons, but with the destruction concentrated efficiently, not over 6 years, but over a few hours. A blockbuster for every family on the planet. A World War II every second for the length of a lazy afternoon.
So it doesn't matter how many SAS you have, Navy SEALs, Green Berets, aircraft carriers, tanks, soldiers, or media networks like the BBC, CNN, or wherever you take your media from, it just will not matter anymore. BuzzFeed won't care about Caitlyn Jenner anymore or Kim Kardashian because there'll be no more media for people to actually listen to any of these stories. There just will not be anything like that. There will, in fact, only be a world of silence. Every person you know, good, bad, evil, or divine, will be dead. There will be no need to debate global warming anymore because there'll literally be no environment to actually care about. Everything will be beyond repair. There'll be no social justice because there will be no justice. There'll be no laws. Those that survive will take what they want from you and won't care what religion, color, creed, sexual preferences you are. They don't care if you're trans-binary, gay, straight, neo-gay, black, white, Asian, Muslim, Christian. There will be in effect nothing left. Laws, morals will just be fragments of the past, imaginings of people lost in the radioactive dust. You would in effect be bringing about a nightmare that generations have fought to stop becoming true. That is the destruction of the world. So if this is the elite's plan, then what does that really say about the elites? In fact, are they just a bunch of corrupt politicians? No, I would argue the other. I think if you were trying to bring about World War III to stay in power, you have to in fact be evil, at least in my opinion. Anyway guys, at the end of the day, I just think you probably have to decide for yourselves. Do you think that there is a real possibility of World War III, or am I just seeing patterns where there aren't none? Anyway, let me know in the comments section, and also give the video a thumbs up if you did like it. That would help me out a lot. But in the meantime, this is Ed from The Outer Dark, and thank you guys for watching, and stay safe.